Tommy's gonna taste the gin so that you don't have to. Let you save your money, yeah, that's what Tommy wants. Minimal dilution, cause we wanna taste the gins. But if the gins are bad, then we will throw them in the bin. Now let's hand it over to Tommy, who is gonna taste. He's gonna get all rowdy and shout up the place.
Jambo, and welcome back to Tommy Taste, the channel where I taste the gin so that you don't have to. Your boy's back from Kenya. F the big five, I was on the lookout for the big Procera 3, and to join the addition of my wonderful Blue Dot Procera gin, please welcome the Procera Red Dot and also the Procera Green Dot. These are two of the world's classiest and most expensive gins. And there are so many reasons why these could be two of the best gins in the world. Let's crack on and start with the red. So I'm sure, as you'll remember from the blue spot, Procera gin is one of the few gins, if not the only gin in the world, that uses Procera juniper. This is a specific type of juniper only found in Kenya and parts of Ethiopia, and I think Tanzania as well. It has more of an earthy, kind of ethereal quality than the common juniper, but makes for what I think might be the best gin of all time. The Procera Blue Dot came in at 44%, African terroir-led gin. The red and the green are exactly the same in the sense that they champion their African botanicals and really stick to the Procera juniper root. So the difference between the red and the blue is your classic martini style of gin. The red was much more developed for the Negroni market. However, given that this gin costs in the region of £100, you can go to if you think that I am going to be putting some £10 Campari piss into this gin to make it into a Negroni. This is something that I will only drink neat in the dark with no other stimulus to continually self-congratulate myself on making such a wonderful purchase. Honestly, if you are making a Negroni out of this, you are f***ing mad. In order to become the perfect Negroni gin, what it has done has taken the Blue Dot strength of 44% and upped it to make a wonderful 51% gin. Our first Procera that is overproof. You are talking my language. Also sticking to the theme of African terroir, so it uses 18 African botanicals sourced from all over the continent, including no less than 5 different types of pepper, all with classically Kenyan style names, e.g. elephant pepper and alligator pepper. How these types of pepper differ, God only knows, but I'm sure they will make for a fantastically spicy gin. But in addition to those spicy peppery botanicals, what you actually get is things that are a bit more umami driven, so things like green tea from more of the African highland spots, oyster shells, and myrrh. Now, I've never seen myrrh in a gin, and yes, that is as in gold, frankincense, and I had to look up myrrh. It's like a tree resin and it's common in the perfume market. So it's got a bit of a resinous, bit of a florally kind of perfume aromatic. Anyway, should make for a banging gin. Let's get this in the glass and have a little taste. So here I have my very minute pouring of Procera Red Dot. When a gin costs 100 quid, you need to savour that gin. This ain't getting chugged or diluted with any of that Campari nonsense. Let's have a whiff. As expected, the nose on this is a true assault on the senses. It starts with the juniper, which is really piney and really earthy. It's kind of got this pine forest vibe, but it smells kind of hot and dusty and African. Then obviously you get the spice, the citrus, and there is that slightly umami vibe, which I'm guessing comes mostly from the green tea. But I mean, I could just sit here and smell this for hours because I'm an intolerably boring person. but let's have a taste.
Baada ya kazi burudika ni wakati wa Tusker.
I mean, this is just phenomenal. It is the spice that hits you first, and then I get really quite a lot of citrus that comes out, but then the finish is really junipery. You get in the mid palate the umami thing, and I think that's maybe from like some of the seaweed that comes into this as well. So that's where the earthiness and that kind of umami feel is coming from. Obviously the 51% is like perfectly incorporated. That goes without saying. Well done me for spending all of this money on this gin. I'm so great or so stupid one way or the other.
Hey, big spender!
Bit of ice in there. Obviously a Negroni would be chilled down and kind of diluted for a little bit with the ice. So at 51%, this should withstand the dilution admirably. Let's have a taste.
Baada ya kazi burudika ni wakati wa Tusker.
The chilling down from the ice and the dilution has really brought out much more of the pepper. Can't tell you which kinds of pepper, but it is spicy. I see why this would be perfect in a Negroni, but as I've said before, I think if you're into Negronis, you're just not really into gin per se, because no matter how hard I try, if I have a Negroni, I can't actually taste the gin that's in it. I just get the vermouth and the Campari and it's bitter and nasty. This is a almost perfect, if not perfect gin. So don't mix it with anything at all. Undoubtedly one of the best gins I have ever tried in my life. I ain't putting tonic in this because it's a f***ing waste of time. Let's move on to the green. Now, if you thought that the red dot was expensive, get ready for the green. This comes in at a whopping 130-ish pounds on the UK market. And it is a super novel gin that I have not really seen the likes of anywhere else, given that it has one single botanical, juniper. They are so proud at Procera of the juniper that they're working with that they think they can make a terroir gin that speaks entirely to the Procera juniper breed. In saying that, it does have a little bit of common juniper in there as well, just to give it a bit more layers. So along with some fresh berries and more of the dried berries, what they're adding to it is things like the root from the juniper tree, as well as like some toasted heartwood from the juniper tree itself, and different kind of leafy foliage that they're finding around. Foliage, doesn't matter. Let's crack this in a glass and have a bit of a whiff. So here I have an even smaller measure potentially of the Procera Green Dot. Now, they say that this is an incredibly versatile gin that can be diluted to make the perfect gin and tonic. Am I putting tonic in this? I don't pay £130 for a gin when I'm putting tonic in there so I can taste the wonders of what a supermarket has to offer. This is a gin that will be great neat, so let's do it neat. Into the nose.
Yeah.
The amount of layers on here are like nothing else. The way that the red and the green have both evolved in the glass is phenomenal. This one by contrast is 47%, so it's a little weaker than the red, but still more than the blue. What I really get first off is the juniper. As you can imagine, it's like walking through a pine forest or something. It is all the wacky wine terms that you can imagine in your head. But with the juniper, there becomes a bit more of a resinous kind of aroma, like tree bark, almost like stone fruit kind of characteristic with things like peaches and apricots that I get on there. And then even like some sweeter kind of citrus aromas as well. It is incredibly well layered. And there's just so many different things. Like each time you go back and smell it, it just gets better and better. Let's have a taste. One of the greatest gins of all time. Whether I could choose a favourite between the blue, the red or the green, I really don't know. All three are fantastic in their own individual ways. The green totally has that same as nose experience. The juniper, the pine, it's just so subtle and evolving. My palate is not good enough to appreciate these two gins. These are the Michelin star of gins, where your palate has to be like perfectly tuned to get all the subtle nuances and stuff. Maybe it's a bit wacky, but it shows just how much you can bring to the form and how interesting that is. Let's get a little bit of ice in there and just see how it develops the flavors.
Hakuna matata, chochote unapata, si una mane na muda ujakata, chill.
So I actually prefer this gin without the ice. I think as it was a perfect drinking dilution of 47%, and all of the subtle nuances that you got were just right. When you have this, it does make some of the top notes just shoot out a little bit, so things like citrus and some of the fruitier aromas really kind of come out first. Don't get me wrong, that's great, but I just preferred when it was a bit more relaxed and not quite so eager to please. Two absolutely perfect gins. Obviously not everyone is going to be in the market for Procera Green and Procera Red. I'd made it my life goal to get these two gins, and now I have them, but I am not disappointed in any way. The gin gods have completely blessed me with these two gins. Can't pick a favourite, it's like picking children. All I can say is, if you're really into gin, these are two that should be added to your collection, along with the Procera Blue Dot. And if you're interested in the Tommy Tastes top technique for how to try these, given the price, whack them onto a mirror, rub them into your gums, and keep telling yourself just how good you are the entire time that you made the decision to buy the Proceras. Asante sana, Kenya. Ciao!
Oh, yeah, like and subscribe, girl. Like and subscribe. What? Like and subscribe. Whip it out, like and subscribe.